lot of people found themselves in leadership positions without ever being taught leadership. They earned their position because they were an excellent producer. And a way of recognizing and appreciating that person's great achievements is to give them a position of leadership. Or they were a great entrepreneur or salesperson and wanted to build a company, and so they need to hire a bunch of employees. Now they're put in a position of leadership, but they never learned leadership. So there's what's called the producer's syndrome. And I suffered this consequence myself. So I've mentioned that I was raised by a tough university football coach father, and he gave me the discipline and the grit and the will to become a great producer. So when I sold environmental products door to door, or I sold real estate, I could rely on me to be a great producer, and I became successful as a producer. And then when I started my media companies, now I needed a lot of other people to do the producing, to do the work necessary to pull off the bigger enterprise's goals. And I quickly and painfully realized that I had a problem. And the problem is that I didn't know how to lead. I realized that people were different than me, that they thought differently, they communicated differently, and they were motivated by different things than I was. And so the only way I knew how to lead was how I knew how to produce. And all that caused me to do was to jump in and do their work for them, to show them how to produce, or to micromanage them, or to constantly cut them off at the knees, or to have them become dependent on me. And what people don't realize is that if you give somebody a crutch, they will learn to limp. So you will turn a talented group of team members into a group of assistants who are just waiting for their next order, waiting to be told what to do next, because they are not empowered to be self-relying, self-led, self-responsible, because the producer leader is constantly jumping in and bogging the organization down. So most leaders don't make the transition between producer to leader. And the skills that it takes to be a producer and the skills that it takes to be a leader are radically different. Radical opposite. You're successful as a producer because of what you could do. You're successful as a leader for what you can get other people to do. And other people think, operate differently, motivated by different things, of different ages, of different generations, of different sexes, of different ethnic backgrounds. And it takes real skill to be able to find out, within all that diversity of different types of people of different ages, what motivates them and how to connect what motivates them to the goals and objectives of the organization, and how to enroll people into that, seeing how what they do directly impacts the success of the organization and how that matters to them. It's just a radically different skill set, and most people in leadership positions are still leading like a producer, and then they wonder why their team isn't motivated, why they're not going the extra mile, why they're not following through, why they're not thinking, why they're not being innovative, and so forth. And it's because they have been managed like assistants rather than empowered like independent leaders and producers themselves. So first thing I would instruct any leader to do is learn leadership. Real leadership. And leadership in the 21st century, particularly post-COVID, is a radically different challenge than leadership was even just 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So new skills for the new dynamics of the new day need to be learned, and fast. And it's the reason why I put together the Hero's Journey, because training and development on modern leadership skills just isn't out there. So I saw that as a urgent problem, and I stepped up to be the one who could make that possible, because I've had access to all the great leaders in the world, and I have had to make this transition from producer to leader. And I lead a wildly diverse team of mostly women, mostly millennials, with ethnic diversity that have been globally distributed for the many different companies and many different industries that I've been involved with. So I have this treasure trove of learning from the best in the world, who built the most world-class companies in the world, and my own personal experience of having had to make this transition, to make my own hero's journey, and have captured the Holy Grail. And now I've got this, as Joseph Campbell would say, the wisdom and power to now bestow those lessons onto others who would like to make that journey to become a great, powerful modern leader themselves.
Be the exception.